been in the working for a while. The soul chooses multiple potential deaths at the moment of birth. Your whole life, in a sense, is already written, but it's not as if it's set in stone. Think of it like this. Imagine you wrote the story of your life from beginning to end. And then you said, wow, that was a great story. But what if I made it a little different? And then you wrote it again, but a little different. And then you did that 1,000 times. Each time you rewrite the story, it gets more and more different. Then you do that infinite times until you have infinite versions of your life with infinite ways you could exit, with infinite ways you could transcend, with infinite ways you could experience the infinite myriad of things that are relevant for your themes of limitation. So you have, as you know, a great deal of control over how you shift through the parallel realities, and you exercise that through mastery over your state of being, your signature frequency, or rather your signature frequency channeled through what you would call your superficial frequency, because your signature frequency cannot be changed. That's why it's your signature. But your superficial frequency, this is more of your aura, this will shift based on your thoughts, your emotions, your moods, your desires. So the key is to get that superficial energy field, that superficial frequency, to resonate with your signature frequency. That's what is truly needed. So that's what we're assisting you with, and that's also what contact asks of you. Yes, to be that signature frequency self at all times, to hone in on that positive state that allows for you to naturally receive the downloads, the insights, the synchronicities that are needed for your next steps, and that assist you in appreciating and valuing your current step. Now that we have laid the foundation, we'll answer this second part. When is it actually chosen? When do you actually choose to leave? So this is, again, determined by the signature frequency. So let's say, for example, you are finishing up most of your soul contracts. Maybe you're doing it really early. Maybe you're in your 20s and you're finishing up most of your soul contracts, to the point where energetically, it's like you only have a year's worth of karma tethering you to the earth. Remember, karma is not what people on your planet think it is. Karma is what keeps you on earth. Karma is your connection to the incarnational story. Positive karma is what you call a more pleasing connection or attachment to the story. Negative karma is what you call more of a negative attachment to the story. But positive and negative karma really are just the energies created by your positive and negative belief systems over different lifetimes. That's really what it is. Now, to the oversoul, you are completely outside of incarnational karmas. Now, to the incarnated selves and to the soul, there's a certain connection to karma. For example, you could say your karmas, coupled with your free will, are what you use to create that superficial energy state. So it's a part of you. Now, let's say, for example, again, you only have about a year's left. What will likely happen is, in the astral plane or in a meditative state or in some type of visionary experience, a being will contact you or this person that we're referring to, this individual. And the being will say, all right, you only have so much time left here because you're evolving rather quickly. Would you like to stay? If you stay, what we can do is we can gather the themes from what would have been your future life, and we can give those themes to you now. So without having to die, you can continue in this life if you really like this life. And now you'll be exploring the themes of a future life. And that's like being bumped up a grade. Yes, in your educational system, when someone goes from kindergarten to 3rd grade, it's sort of like that. That can happen. And some souls will say, well, that's okay, but you know, I think I have had enough here and maybe it's time for something else. Some souls may say this, and then that will activate the idea of that particular death portal that's about a year out into the future, and their current frequency state will align them with that particular one. But it's chosen nevertheless. It's always chosen by you. In the physical reality experience, you might not always know you've made the choice, but on the soul level, on the psychological level, you have made that choice. Yes. And then normally, once you are out of the body or have the experience of being out of the body, many of you generally feel better. Many of you generally feel like you have shed some type of weight and you understand, oh, wait a minute, I chose this. Oh, I don't need to be upset. This is what I needed. And you remember that arrangement you have made. Yes. Now, we say most of the time because certain types of deaths can create which you might consider to be interesting or complex effects within the energetic plane. For example, death in a car crash can disorient a soul. Now, the higher self, the spirit guides, generally speaking, will place a type of insulative bubble of energy around that soul at the moment of the impact, so the soul is not disturbed. And then usually very quickly, that soul is then brought out of that situation. Yes. And sometimes that person has actually died moments before the impact. These types of things are rather common. Now, if a person, again, does not have a lot of spiritual power, then they may not be fully pulled out of that situation, and the soul may bear some type of impression or effect from that experience. But in general, many of you are connected to very high-level spiritual beings. Many of you have powerful spiritual entities within your ancestry, and many of you have extraterrestrial counterparts that are doing everything they can to assist you. When you call upon these beings and ask for their assistance, they will assist you. And if you do this every day, if you ask for their assistance each day, then they will be in your aura each day, which means that should a person die unexpectedly, they will at least have those powers active within them that initiates the, you could say, insulative bubble. So if there is some type of challenging death, their soul can be less impacted or less affected from that experience. So the soul can maintain more of its preferred signature vibration. That's the benefit of this type of thing. And that will eventually become more common. Eventually on your planet, you will return to the idea of conscious death, where your species will just at a certain point choose to ascend. Individuals will choose to ascend at different times. Yes. So all types of things will happen as you become more energetic. Yes, because that's the way things were during some of those periods we mentioned in the opening monologue.